Hi, today we're at SMS Racing. I want to introduce to you Brian Storrie. He's the owner, operator here. We've noticed a lot of problems with a lot of our riders having some issues with suspension and bike setup, and what better way to fix those problems than my guy right here. So I'm going to let him show you a little bit about the proper setup. Just because the bike's new, just because the bike's used and somebody else has ridden it, doesn't mean it's properly set up for you. So I'm going to let him take it over and show you a little bit more about it. Thanks. Brian?
Alright guys, for those of you that don't know me, I own SMS Racing in Denton, Texas. We're a KTM dealer. We're also a Racetech franchise. I was a Racetech franchise for 5 years before we ever got KTM. So those of you that have been around for a while know that we were heavy in the suspension business. That was our primary business before we got into KTM. Now the business is basically 50-50. We have a suspension area that works full-time. We have one employee that does almost nothing but tear down suspension. I still do all the revalving myself, and then that employee puts everything back together. At Racetech and here at SMS we have a saying, and it's the best you've ridden is the best you know. A lot of people just will buy a used bike. The person who had it before them got the suspension done somewhere, was told there was a lot of trick stuff in it. They really don't know what it is. People think it's black magic. They don't understand suspension, and they think because it was done somewhere else for someone else that it's ready to go. Well, the reality is the components that come on motorcycles these days are really, really good. On all brands of motorcycles come with very high quality stuff compared to just a few years ago. And what you need to do is you need to personalize it. You need to set it up for yourself. And no two riders are the same. The number one thing is you've got to get it set up for your weight. You have to get balance set up properly. Taller riders need to sit farther back because their legs are so long, so you need to set up the balance a little bit different for those guys. There's just lots of things you need to do to personalize the motorcycle for yourself. Say your motorcycle's brand new. If your motorcycle's brand new, it's the same thing. You still need to personalize it to you because it's set up for a target rider by the manufacturer, and that target rider probably isn't you, okay? If you weigh a lot or weigh a little, it's going to be way off, okay? But every bike is set up with a different target rider in mind, and it's very important to get your bike set up properly. It can literally be unsafe if it's not set up properly. And back to that saying I said, the best you've ridden is the best you know, is absolutely true. A lot of people have never actually ridden a bike set up properly for them, so they don't know what they're missing. Or they had a bad experience with another suspension shop, and they thought, okay, that really didn't help me a lot. There's a lot of suspension shops out there that are self-taught, and some of them, the individuals are very smart and they do a very good job, but not everybody really knows what they're doing. But anyway, we're going to go through some stuff on how to get a bike set up for you, whether it's you've had it for years, whether it's a used bike you just got, or it's a brand new one you just bought. So we're going to go through the first step you should do, which is right off the bat you need to figure out if the spring rates are correct for you. Okay? The best way to figure out if the spring rate is correct for you, there's lots of simple things you can do. There's several websites you can go to that have spring calculators. Those are very useful. You can punch in what you weigh, or you can call up to me. You can call up here. We have a really good spring calculator. If you don't feel like actually taking the measurements on the bike, we can tell you what you need. When you do go to those websites, one thing you want to know is a lot of times what those websites say the bike has for stock springs is incorrect, because a lot of these people don't actually test every single bike every year, and the spring rates may not be what that website actually says it is. Okay, we've seen this multiple times. So, but the website calculators can tell you what the proper spring for you is. If you want to call up here, we can tell you what the true stock spring rate is to figure out if you really need new ones. But if you want to actually take the measurements to figure out if your springs are correct, on the rear, the way to do it is you simply put the bike on a center stand. It doesn't have to be up high like this, but you want to check your free sag versus race sag, okay? The important number, if you don't have time to actually work on the bike or get springs or get any suspension work done, is the race sag. I always tell people race sag is more important than free sag because a motorcycle doesn't ride without you. Okay, I've had many people tell me that free sag's all you need to set. That's absolutely incorrect. Like I said, the motorcycle doesn't ride by itself. Race sag is more important. But anyway, the way you set sag properly is get the rear wheel off the ground, and you want to measure from 2 points straight up and down. If you have a shorty muffler and it's in here, you don't want to measure at an angle like this. You don't want to go to the tip of the fender. Okay? You want to pick 2 points as straight up and down as possible. The easiest thing to do is take a black marker, like a Sharpie, and simply pick the point that's straight up and down and put a mark on it. Okay? That's the easiest way to handle it. Measure your completely unloaded dimension, okay? And then you want to set the motorcycle on the ground. Okay? Come around here to this motorcycle. When you set the motorcycle on the ground, you want to take it, you want to compress the rear end, let it up very slowly, and then you want to take that same straight up and down measurement again. Okay? Now the difference between those two measurements is your free sag. So that's your sag without a rider on the bike. Okay? Once you have that measurement noted, then you want to go ahead and sit on your motorcycle. Okay? Todd, come over here for me. Go ahead and hop on the bike. Now, you want to have the rider sit on the bike in the position that he would normally ride in. Easiest way to do it, Todd, will you place your foot right here for me, down here? Easiest way to do it, if you just have two people, go ahead and put your other foot on the peg, is get him on the bike. You want to have as much of his weight on the motorcycle as possible. I found the easiest way to do it with a couple people is either put him beside a wall, where he can put his hand up against the wall to balance himself, or a stand like this, and he can just barely put a little there just to keep himself from falling over. He's going to hold the front brake. You're going to compress the front, let it up slowly. You're going to compress the rear and let it up slowly. Now you have your true settled position of the motorcycle. Okay? Now you take your measurement once again. Now, the difference in this measurement and your completely unloaded measurement is your race sag. Okay? What you want to end up with most motorcycles now is between 95 and 110 millimeters. Okay? If you need to know what the primary best setting is for your bike, we do as much Japanese suspension as we do KTMs. Call me and I'll tell you what works best for your bike. Yamaha's work best with about 95. KTM's 07 and older work best with 110. Okay, those are the two kind of extremes. All the other bikes fall in between somewhere. But anyway, adjust your preload collar, put the bike back on the center stand, and you can adjust your preload collar. Putting more pressure on it will raise the rear end up. Less pressure will lower the rear end down. You want to get your ride height set to what is proper for your motorcycle, and for most bikes it's actually in your owner's manual as well. But get your ride height set properly, you get your race sag set properly. Once your race sag is set properly, then you re-measure your free sag. Okay? If you have less than 25 millimeters of free sag, then your spring is too soft. If you have more than 45 millimeters of free sag, then your spring is too stiff. Okay? But that is how you determine if your spring is correct for you. If your spring is correct for you, then your race sag is set. Now you know the ride height is correct on the rear of the motorcycle.